The Sega. It happened a month ago. I started writing this because, well, everyone writes their scary stories, don't they? I was driving to get some lunch at whatever junky fast food place I usually go to. I was starving, and my stomach started to hurt really bad, so I took a shortcut to I think was a McDonald's. I know. I'm white trash. The shortcut led to a ghetto neighborhood and out into the bad part of town. Like I said, I was extremely hungry, so I drove pretty fast. While I was driving, I passed a police car and I knew I was going to get immediately pulled over. So to avoid that, I cautiously turned into an old and dumpy road, part of the ghetto neighborhood. I looked back and saw the police car drive right past the hard-to-see road. I felt relief and continued to drive to the exit. Then, I spotted a box of stuff drop out of a van. I pulled over to the driveway, which probably wasn't a good idea. Picked up the box and looked inside, finding a Sega Genesis? I grinned of nostalgia. I used to have one of these as a kid. I was kind of worried about taking it up to the door, and I really didn't feel like getting shot. So, I stuck the box with the Sega into the van. As I am walking away, I couldn't get over how nostalgic it is to see one of those. So out of curiosity, I walked over, took the box, and put it into the passenger seat of my car. I mean, no one would know I took it. I got in the car and I didn't realize I was sweating and feeling very queasy, so I knew I was extremely hungry. After I got home, stuffed with cheeseburgers in me, I took the Sega out of the car and brought it inside for further investigation of it. I looked inside the box. The Sega was in acceptable condition, pretty dusty, and some stains of cola of some sort. I proceeded to look more into the box. I found a controller, all the cords, and one game. I was more interested in the game because I was happy to see that there was still a game. I looked at the gritty, sticky, and dusty cartridge. I blew the dust off. It was totally a bootleg, man. It was called Balloon Man. I don't think there ever was a game called Balloon Man for the Sega. The cartridge art is just paper with rainbow colors, probably stuck to the game by glue. The title on the top of the cartridge was Balloon Man, with a funny font. I got all the stuff out of the box and went to my old TV up in the attic. I turned on the lights and went to the TV to plug the Sega in and play my game. I was very curious about that game. I wanted to know what it was. So, out of my video game knowledge, I plugged the black cords into an old TV of mine. I was still upset that it was a bootleg and not some popular game like Sonic the Hedgehog, but what you see is what you get. Exactly. I pushed the game into the Sega slot. I then turned it on, and this is what happened. Balloon Man! The title screen was much more like the awfully drawn cartridge art. Rainbows. The rainbows were flashing in an almost seizure-giving way. It was so bright I could barely see play. That was in the same cheesy font as the title. There was no sound either, just the sound of the old TV buzzing. I pressed a random button on the fat controller. The screen just flashed with rainbows again. "I'm fed up with this," I screamed. Why did I scream? I didn't even feel angry, but I did. I didn't want to play. I reached for the power button when the screen flashed to a man hanging on a bunch of balloons in a space-looking area with stars. The man was weird-looking. He had a big head, a huge head. He had a 1950s-looking Candyman outfit with the red stripes and the bow tie. The main objective of the game was to pop all the balloons the strange man was holding onto. Nothing really scary about that. Well, he kept screaming in a chiptune voice.
"Don't let me go, please."
And he also cried. I felt uneasy about this and felt strangely sad for him, so I didn't want to play. I turned it off. After all this, I went to bed, but I didn't sleep. I just lied there. I kept thinking about it. I couldn't get my mind off of it. I wanted to see what other things were in that game, but I was too afraid to play it. I went to my attic again and turned the Sega on. I told myself to play. I pressed start. I went back to the same level. But this time, it had a low-pitched circus type of music. I popped all of the balloons. This game has scarred me. This part is a part I don't want to talk about, but I have to get it off my chest. I popped all the balloons and he fell, but while he was falling, he screamed in a violent manner. I can clearly remember the awful, ear-wrenching sound of his scream. It sounded like a real person. It wasn't a chiptune sound, but it wasn't programmed. You could hear the grainy and echo scream of him. The screen faded to black and text appeared. In the text it said, Burlington, LN. Torture Project. I live in Burlington, LN.